Good evening again. We will now call the regular board meeting of June 19th, 2019 order. Mrs. Bass, would you please call the roll?
District 1, Barbara McQuinn.
Here.
District 2, Chuck Shaw.
Here.
District 3, Karen Brill.
Here.
District 4, Erica Whitfield.
Here.
District 5, Frank Barbieri.
Here.
District 6, Marcia Andrews.
Here.
District 7, Deborah Robinson.
All right, we have a quorum with all 7 board members present. Also at the dais are Inspector General Lung Chu, General Counsel Julie Enrico, and Superintendent Donald Fenoy. I'd like to remind all who will be speaking today that this meeting is being transcribed in real time so it can be viewed with closed captioning. Please speak at a reasonable pace so the transcribers can fully capture what you are saying. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and here to sing the national anthem is Ava Boswell, a student at West Boca Raton Community High School. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Great job. Mr. Superintendent, I show the following items were added for good cause: BRD 1, BRD 2, ELR 1, P3, P4, SP1, ST4, and ST5.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
As to BRD 1, approval of board member travel for Andrews. BRD 2, approval of board member travel for Robinson. Good cause exists for adding these items in order to comply with recent statutory requirements effective July 1st, 2019, that requires prior approval of board member out-of-county state travel over $500. As to item ERL1, school calendar 2019-2020, this item has been added to the agenda for good cause in order to provide stakeholders with an approved start date for the 2019-2020 school year. As to P3, personal addendum, and P4, personal addendum number 2, good cause exists to add these items to allow employees to begin in their new positions as soon as possible. As to SP1, implementation of legislative recommendations of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Commission, good cause exists for adding this item because of deadlines set forth in the recently enacted implementation of legislative recommendations of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Commission, Senate Bill 7030, and for school safety and security. As to item ST4, mental health assistance allocation and district implementation plan, good cause exists to add this item to be able to receive funding to help establish or expand school-based mental health care. The plan, once approved, is due to the Commissioner of Education by August 1st. And as to ST5, behavioral health agreements with 7 agencies, good cause exists to add this item because the 7 agreements expire on June 30th, 2019, and they are built into our mental health plan for 2019-2020. Mr. Superintendent, do you have any items to withdraw?
Yes, sir. I have, oh my goodness, CI-8, First Amendment to Behavioral Health and Cooperative Agreements, CI-10, International Baccalaureate, Primary Years Program Acceptance for Palmetto Elementary, COM-6, American Muslim Alliance of Florida, and students recipients of AMAF scholarships, and PA-1 Renewal, National Student Clearinghouse Student Tracker for High School Agreement for districts or high schools.
All right, thank you. We have so far 3 items pulled, ST3, TL3, FPM, PF5. Are there any other items board members wish to pull? We need a motion to approve the agenda as modified. Dr. Robinson? We're not there yet. Any other items? Anybody wants to pull? All right, we need a motion to approve the agenda by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Disclosures and abstentions. Dr. Robinson?
Yes, I am going to, tell me what number I'm abstaining, please.
PC2.
PC2, I'll be abstaining on PC2. And the reasons why are attached to the item. Thank you.
Right. Any other disclosures or abstentions? Okay, takes us to superintendent board comments. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes. First, I'd like to congratulate Colusa Elementary School for their successful St. Baldrick's event. Before the end of the school, Colusa hosted their 11th fundraiser to benefit the St. Baldrick Foundation. I understand with a few shaved heads at this year's events, that's a good look. The school raised more than $61,000 to help support childhood cancer research. I'd like to say great job to the Colusa Flamingos. Let's give them a round of applause for that. I'm looking forward to visiting a couple of the 140 sites, such as schools, public libraries, and district summer camps, where our fantastic food services team is providing free breakfasts and lunches to children in our community who may not otherwise have a consistent meal available to them while they're out of school. Last year, more than 783,000 meals were served over the summer, and we expect to exceed that number this year. I want to thank the entire food services team for their commitment to our community and children. You'll find the location of these sites on our district website at palmbeachschools.org. We're encouraging the entire community to check out our website to make sure that you get access to those free meals. I commend the Children's Services Council for their commitment to helping our children prevent summer slide. The council visited every elementary school and gave each student a book to read over the summer break. Over the past 6 years, CSC has donated more than 800,000 books through this program. The children are excited to have a book of their own to read, and I hope that this encouragement they need to pick up several other books to read during the course of the summer. I also like to say congratulations, and congratulations are in order for our District 4 board member, Erica Whitfield. Ms. Whitfield was honored as an education champion during the Path to College Fellowships Education Fest. Mrs. Whitfield works tirelessly in our community to encourage wellness and education for all of our children, and this is a well-deserved honor for her hard work. Let's give her a round of applause, please. It also gives me great pride now to congratulate our current South Area Regional Superintendent, Dr. Ian Salzman. Ian, I want you to stand up, please. Come on up here so we can see you. Dr. Salzman has been selected as the next superintendent of schools for the Everett School District in Everett, Washington. I am confident that we continue to provide the same level of leadership he has on this side of the country, way over there. But to Ian, to you and your amazing, beautiful family, I wish you the best of luck. Please understand this is your home, and we will always be here to support you and your family and your kids as you transition. And once you get the job and you start dating your board members, you'll call me and we'll have some private conversations. Just give it a round of applause. In our district, he is known for his ability to connect with students, parents, and staff, and Ian has certainly demonstrated that during his 30-year tenure here in Palm Beach County. And again, we wish him the best. We have a lot of new appointments on tonight's agenda, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge several people who are making moves in the district. So at this time, I would like our Deputy Superintendent, Keith Oswald, to come forward and introduce each of them and allow them a brief comment.
Thank you, Dr. Fenoy. We have been busy. Good things are happening to great people. Dr. Rodriguez also becoming a superintendent. So to start off, I'm going to ask Dr. Sheffield, Ms. Issa, and Mr. Henry to come and join me up here. Dr. Sheffield was appointed last month, but we want to give her an opportunity to address the board tonight on her new role as the Chief Academic Officer. Dr. Sheffield.
All right.
Good evening, Board Chair Barbieri, Vice Chair Shaw, Dr. Fenoy, other board members. I do appreciate the opportunity to come to the district office as the new Chief Academic Officer. I am looking forward to continuing the ongoing working relationship with our student and adult learners here at the central office. I am just excited. Never in my 26 years, going into 27, that I thought I would be sitting here as the incoming Chief Academic Officer. And I cannot say thank you enough for your belief in me. And Mrs. Andrews, from when you recruited me back in 1993 from South Carolina, I do say just thank you for believing in myself. And I am committed, I'm dedicated, and I'm just ecstatic to continue the working relationship.
Thank you.
And a lot of our new work that's going to be started, be Assistant Superintendent of Student Wellness. Ms. Issa is taking the helm there. Ms. Issa.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Fenoy and Mr. Oswald. I want to thank you all for the opportunity for me to continue to serve both our families and our students who are the most vulnerable on our campuses. I appreciate the opportunity for me to be able to lead this new division and the work that we're going to be working on through Senate Bill 7026 and 7030 and all of the other new initiatives that are coming forward. I just finished my 37th year of service in Palm Beach County, and I have had the utmost opportunities to be guided and mentored by the most amazing professionals and supported by my family. I know that if I try to thank them all, I will miss somebody and I will be here all night. So I'm just going to do a overall shout out to both my biological family, my work family, because of their support and their guidance. I sit here before you tonight. So thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Henry has been leading some really important work at Royal Palm School. I'm sure that everyone is disappointed to see him go as he takes on the new role as the Director of Virtual and Home Education. Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Superintendent, board members, Mr. Oswald. I am humbled and honored to accept this position, and I look forward to continuing my journey. And I know it's going to be amazing. This district is an amazing district. I've had a lot of mentors throughout my time in this district, getting me to the point where I am now. And it doesn't take individuals, it takes a team for everybody to be successful. So thank you for helping me be successful to this point.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you all. We also have some new principal supervisors. I'm going to ask Ms. Haynes, Dr. Licata, Mr. Summer, and Ms. Wetzel to make their way up here. So, as we mentioned, Dr. Rodriguez moving on as a superintendent, leading the regional superintendent for the central area. Ms. Haynes.
Good evening. Board Chairman, Mr. Barbieri, Board Vice Chair, Mr. Shaw, esteemed board members, and Superintendent Dr. Fenoy. I am honored to have the opportunity to serve our diverse community as the next Central Regional Superintendent. As a product of Palm Beach County Schools and graduate of Forest Hill High School, I have served this community in many capacities, as a teacher, as an assistant principal, as a principal, and as an area director. My experiences as a child and as an English language learner has prepared me to overcome the challenges and persevere. I grew up in Wellington, so serving the Western communities is like being home again. I would like to thank the mentors that I've had for 26 years serving as an educator. Dr. Frank Rodriguez, Mr. Rod Montgomery, and Mr. Jack Thompson have all played an integral part in shaping me as a leader. Dr. Rodriguez has led the Central Region to its highest achievements so far, and I will work diligently with the schools and communities to not only continue the work of our district's strategic plan, but to also lead our team to reach the next level in student achievement. Thank you.
Someone who needs no introduction to this board, who has stepped up to the plate to take on a new role as the regional superintendent for the South area, Dr. Licata.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, board. Thank you, Dr. Fenoy. It gives me an opportunity to continue to work closely with Mr. Oswald, but I'm also replacing an icon in the South, Dr. Ian Saltzman, who has been revered down there for years. I grew up in the South, Boca del Rey, Boynton area, and a lot of those principals worked with me for years, so it gives me an opportunity to return back to some phenomenal schools. It's hard leaving this district building, being here for 10 years since my last principalship. It's the relationships I'll miss of the people that I've got to know. And all 4 Lewis custodians in the building. I finally figured out which Lewis is which. But they're awesome people, and it's an awesome building, and a lot of work gets done here. But I appreciate the trust in me. I appreciate what I've done over the years in Choice. I think it's a great place right now. We have a saying in golf, leave the green nicer than when you got here. And hopefully I've left the Choice area much nicer than when I got here. So I look forward to the challenge and replacing an icon down in South area. So thank you very much for your trust.
Thanks, sir.
And staying in the South, instructional superintendent will be working with our secondary schools, Mr. Craig Summer.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald, Superintendent Fenoy, Chairman Barbieri, and the rest of the school board. Thank you so much for giving me the responsibility of serving as an instructional superintendent in the amazing Palm Beach County school system that I'm a product of. My mother is a retired teacher, and my daughter is a product of the system as we speak. 20,000 students that I look to serve. School starts in about 40 days. Teachers come back. So I'm going to keep it brief. I'm ready to get started, and thank you guys for the opportunity.
And back to the central region, working with our secondary schools in the central area, instructional superintendent Karen Wetzel.
Good evening, Dr. Fenoy, Board Chair, Mr. Barbieri, and board members, and obviously my former 4th grade teacher, Mr. Shaw. So I had my first opportunity to address the board in a supervisory role 22 years ago in 1997 when I took on Poinciana Elementary School. So 22 years, 5 schools later, I'm just as excited to be here again to take on a new challenge, and as the instructional superintendent for the central area middle schools and high schools. I'm really excited to work with a team of principals and those professionals. I'm actually very honored to be able to do that. So thank you for the opportunity and the responsibility, because I'm up for both. So thank you.
Thanks so much.
And Ms. Robin Brown will be instructional superintendent in the north area. She has some previous professional development that she's working on her team from being a principal. And speaking of principal, probably the most important work, we have a number of new principals that we're going to introduce tonight. They can make their way up here. I think they're afraid to come in front of you all. All right, let's see. So starting off at New Horizons Elementary School, Ms. Dana Pallaria.
Good evening, Superintendent Fenoy, Chairman Barbieri, Vice Chairman Shaw, and esteemed school board members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to lead such an amazing school as New Horizons Elementary School. I've spent 5 years at Grassy Waters as assistant principal, preparing for this principalship, and due to the continuous support of my mentors, Mrs. Green and Dr. Galindo, my goal has been achieved. In addition, many thanks to my family and friends that have endured the long days and hours of interviews waiting for that one perfect call. I wouldn't be here today without them. I'm extremely lucky to further my leadership journey in the Central Region, where I will continue to learn and grow under the leadership of Mrs. Green and Mrs. Haynes and the current principals that I've spent time with at PLAs. New Horizons Elementary School is a family-oriented school that has an amazing dedicated PTA, hardworking staff, and ample support through the Village of Wellington. It is ranked 3rd in the nation for the International Spanish Academy. I have 15 years experience in both elementary and secondary education, teaching students with disabilities and students that speak other languages, as well as coaching a variety of sports in the Palm Beach County School District. I feel very skilled at communicating with a variety of families and meeting their needs. Mrs. Cordoza has left a legacy of accomplishments at New Horizons Elementary School, and I intend to maintain the high expectations she set and lead my staff to New Horizons. Thank you again, esteemed board members.
And not a new principal, but stepping up to the plate to take on one of our comprehensive high schools, West Boca High School principal, Mr. Ed Capitano.
Good evening. Good evening, School Board Chair Frank Barbieri, Vice Chair Chuck Shaw, school board members, and Superintendent Dr. Fenoy. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the trust to lead this amazing school, West Boca Community High School. It is an honor and a privilege to be at the helm of this school. It's a great community. It's amazing faculty and staff, and the students are just incredible. I'm so looking forward to hit the ground running with this school and keeping the great things that are going on at that school as well as the West Boca community, just keep them going. I also want to thank my lovely wife, who's the principal of Don Estridge, Miss Rachel Capitano. She can't be here tonight. She's with my daughter making their way back from West Virginia. But my daughter, Taylor Lee Capitano, also can't wait now because she could go to football games and stand on the sidelines. So I'm really excited for these new memories and the legacy to keep up. So with that, I want to thank you all for entrusting me with the future endeavors of our children and to keep that going. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
In the last 24 hours, we've been very busy as we try to fill all these principal vacancies, and for Ms. Kelly Patrick leading as principal of Meadow Park Elementary School.
Good evening. Thank you. I am the humbled new principal of Meadow Park Elementary School. I want to thank you, the board, for meeting with me tonight and giving me this opportunity. I also want to thank Dr. Fenoy and Mr. Oswald for giving me this opportunity. I've been an educator in Palm Beach County schools for the last 19 years. The last 7, I've worked at 7 at Melaleuca Elementary as the assistant principal. And I've had the fortunate opportunity to work with some really fabulous leaders in my 19 years here. And if I listed them, we'd be here all night, but I do want to recognize a couple of them. Miss Nina Lant, the principal at Heritage, was the person that saw a leader in me and really pushed me into getting my leadership degree, so I would not be sitting here without her. And of course, the most amazing mentor an aspiring leader could ask for, my principal, Dr. Maupin, has led me down a journey that I never expected to be on. She's taught me so many things, and I'm so grateful for her knowledge, and she has prepared me for this position. I'm lucky to call her my partner and my friend, and I look forward to being able to work with her still in the Central area in some capacity. I want to thank Dr. Sanders and Ms. Haynes for trusting me on this new journey and having faith in me. And of course, I want to thank my family, and I'm so excited they're here to join me this evening. My parents are sitting in the crowd over here. They've taught me to be a very strong and independent woman, which is something I value dearly, and nobody can ever take that away from me. It's created a great leader in me. My boyfriend, who stood by my craziness for the last 3 years, is here joining me. And my beautiful 2 boys, my 5-year-old who's going to kindergarten, my 10-year-old who's going into fifth grade, who are in a whirlwind tonight too, not knowing why they're here. They're the reason I get up in the morning and I do what I do. I teach students every day to set goals, work hard, and success will follow. And I'm so proud to be able to set that example for my boys and for the students of Meadow Park. And I look forward to this opportunity. So thank you so much.
And working with some of our most precious children, new principal of Indian Ridge Elementary, or ESE School, Mr. Eugene Ford.
Thank you. Good evening, board, chair, Dr. Fenoy, Mr. Keith Oswald, my instructional superintendent, Mr. Dr. Jolie. It was over 30 years since I've been in front of the board. I remember when the school district was on Belvedere, and we were having our meetings in a portable. I was the first recipient to receive a scholarship from the school district of Palm Beach County and made a commitment to come back to Palm Beach County and teach. My first principal was Marcia Andrews, and she inspired me. She hired me. I was home for the summer break, and she was the recruiting director or something, and she would get me a summer job at Jupiter High School. So one day when I called and told her I graduated from Florida A&M and I'm ready to teach, so she said, come in right away, come in right away. She had just been appointed the principal at Bear Lakes Middle School. And I'm telling you, she inspired me to go into leadership because she was on the campus with her tennis shoes on, and she was in and about and always thought out the box. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but she thought out the box because when our students couldn't come to our school, we went out to the community. So I am grateful to have you as a principal and a leader. Board, I truly, 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 from the bottom of my heart, truly appreciate and being an honor to be appointed to the principal of Indian Ridge School. I also want to just let you know I'm not going to take this job lightly. I have a passion for those students. Those are our special students. And my motto at the school is, every day is a new day. So much has happened, but I suck it up and I come the next day and I'm ready to serve our kids because, you know, we have some kids with some challenges and I'm just up to meet that challenge. I also want to thank some of my former leaders. Given my first AP job, Miss Ethel Randolph, or my first, Mr. Don Green, you know, those guys, Nate Collins. Oh, man, you know, I learned so much. I learned how to manage students. I learned how to manage teachers, and I also learned how to be a great instructional leader. Mr. Jose Garcia, Miss Lena Roundtree. I mean, boy, those guys instilled so much in me, and I am so grateful to be, you know, to have that. But I promise you that I won't take this responsibility lightly. I will endeavor to represent the school district and with the students in transparency and bold. Also, like one more person, Dr. Cromwell, and truly appreciate her because of the fact that she had such a vision for the school. And we got the school up and running, and we're doing a great job. And I just hope to continue that, you know, and make you guys truly proud of me. And I'm thankful, and I thank you again.
We'll be back next month with some more.
Well, first of all, let me just take a moment to thank Keith Oswald. You know, most people don't know a lot about my leadership style, but when I say I want something done, I absolutely mean it. And so I told him, and the community needs to understand this. I'm an educator at heart, and I loved being a principal. But what we can't do to principals is try to put them in jobs right before school starts. And so it was important to me, stop everything you're doing. We have to get these schools staffed. As we've had a great privilege with so many of our great employees getting opportunities across the country that we had these positions to fill. And so I'm just thankful that to Keith and his team and Dr. LaCava, because I know we're putting a lot of pressure on HR to get this done, and we will keep putting that pressure on to make sure that our kids have a great start. The last thing I want to take a moment to say to the board, I want to thank Dr. Ava Parker and take a point of privilege. She is the president of Palm Beach State College, and I want to thank her for entering into a joint partnership with the school district to offer programs in our high school and adult students that will be for the betterment of our entire community. Ms. Andrews, the Glades Readiness Roundtable, and different groups across the county have been in conversations for years about what we can do together. I had the privilege of speaking to Dr. Parker's board yesterday, and at this time I'd like to give her a few minutes to address our board to talk about our partnership. Thank you, Dr. Parker.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to have the opportunity to come and stand before you. I feel like I'm talking to a group of my friends as I've worked so closely with you guys over the last 4 years. So believe it or not, I'm ending my 4th year here as the president of Palm Beach State College. You know, what's interesting, and it has been a fast 4 years, is that I probably feel like one issue that has been very consistent is, you know, what is it that we should do about the education of our adults and vocational training here within the county. I feel like I've had individual meetings with many of you as you've tried to say, you know, what is it, you know, we've been talking about this for years. You know, it seems that there have been so many obstacles that have been in the way. Why is it that we can't come together and have a real conversation and figure out how to do this? So while maybe it didn't always seem like it, I can certainly tell you that I always listened and that I understood how important this issue was, not just to you as board members and not just to Dr. Fenoy as the leader of our school district, but just to our county and our community, because there's a concern that we had needs that were not being met. And while I understand, if I look back at the records, and I get it, that this, it seems ideal that as a college, and because we have vocational training, it would make sense that we would offer the training for adults. But I also understand that there are other opportunities because everybody wasn't being reached. And there had to be a way to get this done, and I had to believe that. I think I'm smart. I know Dr. Fenoy is smart, and better yet, we have smarter people that work for us. That there would be a way for us to figure out how to get this done and everybody win. And more importantly, not just that the school district wins or not just that Palm Beach State wins, but that our community would ultimately win from our collective thoughts. So I'm pleased that after 4 years of conversations, and that's just between us, not to mention the ones that you guys have had way before I even got here, I think that we're at a point where we can say that we are prepared to enter into agreement and understand that it is a living document. That is, that we think that if we continuously talk, that we can continue to come up with resolutions that work, so that we in turn can find ways and programs that make sense for the school district to provide, programs that it makes sense for the college to provide, and more importantly, programs that we should provide together. That is, how is it that we can take the resources that we have in front of us, that at some point it is that the district uses them, some point we use them. How is it that if we have faculty who are trained in an area and you have materials, why can't we find a way for those faculty to come into those school districts or into those school buildings and provide those services? And so while all that sounds easy, it's been real hard. Yeah. And it's been difficult to break down barriers and get folks to understand that, you know, it may look like folks have ulterior motives, but really the motive has always been, what's the best way to provide the service to those folks who need it most within our community? So that's why I'm so proud to say that we are at a point where we feel like we are, very close to entering to our partnership agreement, that we understand that this is so important because if you pay attention to what's happening in Tallahassee, they are ready to start telling people what to do. And I feel like we're ahead of the curve because we've already thought about what makes sense for our community. And I think in turn we'll become the model for how it is that school districts and state colleges and community colleges should work together for the betterment of their community. I think it is a way to provide additional access. I think it's a way to avoid duplication of very limited resources. And I think that it's because we have a commitment to a continuous dialogue that we'll be thinking out of the box and providing innovative ways to actually meet the needs of our community. So I've said to many of you individually that you have my commitment to ensure that I work on this and that we get it right. So I'm standing here today to say I'm continuously committed to something that I think that is evolving, but know that I feel we're close enough that some really positive things are about to happen, and I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to work so closely with Dr. Fenoy to get it done. I appreciate the fact that Donna was before my board on yesterday and made a very similar statement, and I made the commitment to come and make this statement to you today. I'm looking forward to working with you and know that great things are about to happen within Palm Beach County, greater things. We already have great things happening. So greater things are about to happen because of the partnership agreement that we're entering into as really two of the largest providers within our county. So that's what I want to say about that, and that's really important, but I can't sit down without saying thank you so much because I have kids within the school district, and that's probably most important. I'm so pleased that I have 2 fourth graders now who are at Panther Run Elementary School. We're in Marcia's district, and I was so pleased she could see Parker at church on Sunday whenever he stood there in front of the church and read, and I said, this is a product of our school system, and particularly a product of Panther Run Elementary, which is one of the schools in your district. So just know I so appreciate the work that you do, and I'm so depending upon you to get it right because, because I so believe in public schools and the difference that they make in the community. I couldn't think of any place else to put Parker and Bailey because I believe any place else they would go, it would not be a quality academic experience as what they could actually receive here in Palm Beach County, particularly under your leadership and the leadership of Dr. Fenoy. So thank you very much for the opportunity and looking forward to great, great things to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Parker, and please let your board know I really appreciate just how cordial they were to me and so receptive to our conversation yesterday, and let's go to work. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Board comments, Mrs. McQuinn.
Yes, sir. I've totally revised my comments, but they all come back to graduations. I know it seems like it was years ago, but I think it was just a month and a half that we started them. But I'll end up with I'm just integrating other comments now into graduation. So first, thank you, Dr. Parker. I have not had the opportunity to meet and talk with you individually, but in North County at the North Campus, I have had opportunities to work with Dr. Coleman, provost in North County. So that's been wonderful, which leads me to now, I'm not singling out any of these appointments. Well, I am, but not because one is more important than the other. It's just let me start with Mr. Ford, who is going to be continuing the good work at Indian Ridge. You know, I listened to him, and I understand that he has been around about as long as Mr. Shaw, Mrs. Andrews, and myself in Palm Beach County. He goes way back, too. And I so appreciate that commitment because, and so that leads me to Mr. Henry's new appointment to virtual. I went to the virtual, several board members, we were like dedicated to the smaller schools that don't get all the recognition. And the virtual school graduation was wonderful. What we do for kids, I had no idea as long as I have been in this district, the incredible kids that we graduate through virtual education. Some because of just personal needs, they might be health or whatever, not being adjusted to a regular school, they do better online. But we have kids who play sports internationally, so they get their diplomas through virtual. We have students who want to pursue music full-time, and so they do virtual. It is amazing. Sometime you ought to look, when we have next year the postings of the graduations, it is so remarkable. And unlike our very large schools, for example, Jupiter High School graduated about, I think it was 1,500 kids, and it was a great graduation. Don't misunderstand me. But you have a school that you're able to put every kid's picture up and see their gratitude statements to their families, and they don't even know each other. It's the first time a lot of them met, but they are the 2019 virtual school graduating class. So that brings in Mr. Henry and Mr. Ford. Another wonderful piece that came about tonight is, Mr. Henry virtual, yeah, okay. Now going to Mr. Ford at Royal Palm School, I have all this in my head. Royal Palm School graduate, am I right about that? I'm wrong. Indian Ridge. That's okay, because we went there too. I have drawn arrows. I'm the math teacher, remember? Okay. Indian Ridge, that graduation was remarkable. And I'm thinking, oh, we can never let this principal go. And yet, here comes somebody who has that same passion for these kids. And they graduate them up to 22 years old, and nobody ever gave up on them. And this is something we do in Palm Beach County. So that's another wonderful thing. Now let me move to Mrs. Issa, who's somewhere in the room. I actually met Mrs. Issa when she was an assistant principal, and so again, we go way back too. But this morning I was at a Families First board meeting, and our CEO, Julie Swindler, was bragging about June Issa and saying all she did was call and say, may I get an appointment about these upcoming grants, and June made it happen. So there's that piece. Dr. Sheffield, I ran into her in the hall, I think it was yesterday, and I've known her a long time too. And I said, okay, I've been holding this curriculum thing in the back of my mind for several months. And so I told her what it was, and she said, oh, I'm so on that. And she told me what they were doing. So I'm telling you, and then Mr. Saltzman, Dr. Saltzman, when I knew him, I know him now, but when I knew him, on a more daily basis, he was Mr. Saltzman, and he was an assistant principal at Lake Worth Middle School. So I'm telling you, to see all this talent, it is so amazing to me, which now I have to thank Dr. Fenoy, who's left the room. Oh, no. All right. You can always count on me for comic relief, but I have my arrows here, okay? Thank you for recognizing and insisting that the talent that we have in Palm Beach County is worthy of these leadership positions. I so appreciate your doing that. Thank you. I know that's your commitment. And so one more graduation. I'm almost through. Wait. Adult education. Folks, incredible, our adult education graduations and the scholarships that they have. Number one to FAU, tons to Palm Beach State. We're doing a really good job with populations that we don't recognize often enough. So thank you for listening.
Mrs. McQuinn, I think it's understandable that your eyesight and your memory is a little rusty. I think between you, Mr. Ford, Mr. Shaw, and Mrs. Andrews, you have a combined 200 years of experience in the district. Mrs. Whitfield, you're next.
I don't know how I can follow all that. Thank you. I have a few things. First thing I wanted to say just really quickly was Dr. Parker and Dr. Fenoy, I think this is going to be your legacy. I think what you've done here is really very impressive, and I want to personally thank you for this work. I mean, just to see the collaboration, it really is just a wonderful thing, and so I really want to personally thank both of you for figuring this out, because this has been a challenge for us here in Palm Beach County. And also like to thank Rachel Bonlaren, who's here with us today, because I know she had a lot to do with the work that happened, and also all of our staff that has been involved here at the district. We had quite a few of them, and it was just a beautiful thing. So huge thank you to you guys. Okay, a couple of things I wanted to mention. These graduations were amazing. They were beautiful, and a few people really need to be specifically recognized for this. The first two I want to recognize are Dr. Fenoy and our chairman, Frank Barbieri, who showed up to every single graduation. And I don't understand how Mr. Barbieri did it. I was exhausted from the amount that I did, and he was there. He was a little bleary-eyed by the end, but he did a really, really good job. Dr. Fenoy, we actually pay you to do that, but I don't think we pay Mr. Barbieri as much. So to be able to pull that off, I want to thank both of them for pulling that off, and the amount of work it took to do that, and how many times he had to listen to Dr. Fenoy's speech over and over again. I know he could do it by himself if he needed to. The other two people I think we really need to thank are Officer Sal Longo, who was there at every single one of these, and all of the police officers that protected everyone. This was our first year wanding people as they came in. Thousands and thousands, I think we 14,000 students graduated. All of their respective families and friends showed up, and everyone was safe. It was just a beautiful thing. So I'd like to thank Officer Longo and all of the staff that were there. Too many police officers to mention. And then, of course, our own Eric Stern, who I think he's here in the audience. He makes this go off without a hitch every year. We don't even realize how much work goes into it. And so I'd like to put a huge thank you to those four gentlemen and all of the additional staff that were there for the huge amount of work that they did to really graduate so many children successfully here in the district. And a big congratulations to all of the children who did graduate. So if you would help me in congratulating all of them, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, two quick things with my last 30 seconds. Dr. Fenoy mentioned the summer break spots, where we have so many children that are able to eat lunch for free throughout the school district. We have hundreds of locations here in Palm Beach County. It's a partnership between so many different organizations, but majority is the school district and the county providing these locations. They're at libraries, they're at community centers, they're at your schools, and if you want to know where to go to get to them, any child 18 and under can go. If you know a child who's 18 and under, tell them to go. It is free. You don't have to be a resident of the county. You don't have to be a member of our school system. You just have to be under 18 years old and you can go. So people visiting from out of town can be there. You can call 211. You can go to summerbreakspot.org and you can send a text to 877-877. You type food FL in there and it'll let you know what is your location. So every child in the county, doesn't matter if you're poor, rich, or whatever, everyone can go. And then the last thing I want to mention is right now we are about to approve yet another contract with the Racial Equity Institute. And I wanted to put a plug out there for all the principals who watch this meeting, and I don't know how you managed to do that, but I would like you to go. I would really, really like you to go. I think every principal in this district needs to attend. We spend a lot of money as a board to put that on for you, and I think as a person who's gone through the training now, the really long 2-day version and the short groundwater version, I learn something every time, and it impacts me so much that I want to see our schools be run by people who have been through this training. It is really important to me. So I wanted to let you know they are coming up. I asked Dr. Robinson, who spearheaded this effort and really has been the brainchild behind it, if there was space. She says there is upcoming space in these. So please, if you're a principal, there are sessions over the summer. Consider going. I think it's important for all of our children that you have this view in the back of your mind in every single thing you do in our district. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Brill?
Thank you. And so tonight I'm going to talk about 2 areas that I am very passionate about. I'll start off by addressing Dr. Parker and Dr. Fenoy by saying I am so excited about your collaboration, but I want to put something on your radar. Adults with disabilities. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is that when our adults with disabilities go to vocational rehabilitation and they sit down to do a plan for their education for vocational work, they are told that there's nothing for them in Palm Beach County, and they're sent to Broward County to Atlantic Tech. So I know that you have to get your plans in place, but put that in the back of your mind as you think out of the box, because we have a large population that we can serve. And these are people who are some of our best employees. And so I would love to see us work together on opportunities for them. But I am over the top excited that we are going to be making plans to serve all of our adults in our county. So thank you. And the other item that I wanted to address, we're going to hear later, we're going to be honoring some educators. But Mr. Barbieri and I attended FAU's dinner honoring this year's Gutterman Family Exemplary Holocaust Educators. And so tonight we are going to be honoring my very good friend, Nancy Mensch, Mary Ellen Riccini, and Carolina Simon. And I'm mentioning this because you've heard me say this in our board meetings before. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. It's a fact. It's national. It's all over. It's in our county. And now more than ever, Holocaust education is so, so very important. It's a documented fact. We have to keep educating everybody because we can never let those atrocities occur again. So I just want to say thank you for all that you do in educating our students. And have a good night.
Thank you. Mrs. Andrews?
And thank you and good afternoon. And I do need a little extra time because I have so many special things to say tonight. First of all, I want to say that we've just returned from Tampa, most of us right here on this school board, where we go twice a year to learn about how to be the best school board members. We go in June and we go in December. And we also work with our legislative issues. It was a great week. We get a chance to dialogue with other school board members from across the state. We work with other leaders from across the state. And it's so enjoyable and worthwhile, so we can bring that information back here. And I, too, want to thank Palm Beach State College. We've been working a long time with the Glades Career Readiness Roundtable, Palm Beach State College, since I've been on this school board. And to see the progress that we have made, and we're really getting really close to all those things we've been working to do. Peter Licata, Keith Oswald, Donya Roberts, Attorney Donya Roberts, who is the chairman of our roundtable, the Tri-City Education Committee, Palm Beach State College, and our business partnerships. We've been at it. And so Dr. Fenoy has actually now pulled it together with Dr. Parker to get where we need to go. It's so exciting to know that we're going to have these programs at the college and at the schools. That's going to take care of our students as well as our adults. So kudos for this wonderful work, and I can see great things. I've seen them all along, but we're now at another level, so thank you. And I want to also say we just had our annual Transportation Department picnic. Wanda Paul, you were there. I saw you with that cap on. It was fabulous. It really was fabulous. You were there with your family. I want to thank Shane Searchwall and all of the members of the Transportation Administration Department, because this was a picnic at John Prince Park where we had pretty close to 300 to 400 of our employees, our bus drivers, our attendants, our transportation helpers, our mechanics, just everybody that works in the transportation department, and they were able to bring their families, their husbands, their wives, their children, their babies, their grandparents. Everybody was out there. It was so much fun and so much enjoyment. We ate, we had fun playing, we had face painting. It was truly a wonderful time. And as all of us look at summer, it's a time for us to take some moments out to go to the beach, go to the park, and celebrate our successes throughout the year. I know we're on the 10-hour days here, but you've got that Friday, and I'm sure you can take a little time in between to refresh yourself, to revitalize yourself as you work hard for children each and every single day. And then I want to tell you, having worked in this school district as the Chief of Human Resources and a recruiter for so long, and I see all of my products. When I look at it and I see Dr. Sheffield and I see Mr. Ford, yes, we all started out at the trailer over on Belvedere. Many of you may be too young to remember, but when I started with this school district, we operated out of the trailer over there. And some of the people that we recruited are still here. And I'm so proud when I see all of the recruiting initiatives that we did paid off because we retained the top talent. We truly have top talent here in Palm Beach County, and I can attest to that by being a leader and bringing it back. So I'm always so proud. But tonight I want to spend a minute, just a quick another minute to say to Dr. Salzman, stand up, Dr. Salzman. Stand right up where you are. Stand up. Stand up. I want to tell you, I found him in 1989. I really did, at Florida State University in Tallahassee. He was wandering around wanting to know, where am I going to get a job? Where to go? And I looked at him and I says, there's only one place to go, and that's in Palm Beach County. And I says, I see your credentials look very good. I see your references, your transcripts. You're ready. And I brought him back home, and I brought him back home to Juanita Lampe. Some of you will remember her. She was the principal at Loggers Run Middle School, and she says, Miss Andrews, do you have somebody great for me? And I says, yes, I have Ian Salzman, who's coming there to teach special education for you at your school. And he started there, and I've just seen him just develop like a butterfly. He's been everywhere, North Grade Elementary School, Lake Worth Middle School, Carver. They called him to go to Palm Beach Central when it first opened because we had a few issues there. We said, we know the man that can take care of it. We called Dr. Salzman. Then he was on the transformation team. He was out in the Glades. He was everywhere with Frank Rodriguez and all of them, working with Glades Central, Pahokee, moving it. And then I saw him sitting right here as a director and then a region superintendent. And now you're flying away to your own position as the superintendent of schools in Everett, Washington. I love you, Dr. Salzman. Do well. Love goes to you. Thank you.
Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. I can't even follow that. So all I'll say is, Salzman, you know, I know some of those FSU stories, right? Okay, all right. I'm gonna just leave that alone. And I will not, I can't go through everybody. Let me say ditto. How about that? Ditto. Because otherwise, Frank is gonna try to do the clock on me. And I know how this works, see? And I have to get in my Black History facts. So many of you know that at every month's board meeting, except in February, I give a Black History fact. A couple months ago, I converted from Black History facts to sharing books. So I want to tell you a little story before I share the book. So about 16 years ago, we proudly visited our son at Hampton University. Now, us Howard people, we refer to it as the other HU, but the Hampton Pirates sometimes refer to Hampton as their home by the sea. Hampton University is a HBCU, which is nestled on the banks of the Virginia Peninsula near the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. Business majors at Hampton take sailing, golf, and tennis in addition to their hardcore academics. But all freshmen at Hampton take Hampton 101, the history of the university. So our son proudly took us on a tour of the campus, pointing out very important sites and the stories behind them, including Emancipation Oak. This oak tree was the site where Mary Peake taught freed blacks, mulattoes, and Africans that were escaping from slavery to read, contrary to law at the time. Later, this oak tree was the site of the first Southern reading of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. But I want to note that we celebrate on this day, June 19th, Juneteenth, which commemorates this day in 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. This was the day that Major General Gordon Granger landed in Galveston, Texas, to announce the end of slavery. Nevertheless, the point here is the importance of knowing your history and how your people contributed. So when I returned from Hampton, the school district held a groundbreaking for Pleasant City Elementary, which was next door to Pleasant City Heritage Gallery, where Miss Every Clark Jimerson salvaged the historic artifacts of that community. I had hoped that we would write Pleasant City 101. That hasn't happened. But on that note, I want to share 2 books. So first, the first book, is Carleen Millen back there? The first book is Bronze Pillars, The Oral History of African Americans in Flint, Michigan, our hometown. Many of the people in this book are part of my story, including my dad, Attorney C. Frederick Robinson, who's mentioned in several places. In addition, and I really want to show you pictures, but I'm not coordinated enough to do that. But anyway, and then there's Mrs. Spencer on page 72, who was the librarian that gave me books for my birthday and Christmas, and I could not stand her. But I thank her now, right? I get the importance of it now. Back then, I just didn't understand this woman. But anyway, then there was Dr. Fred Waller, the pharmacist who lived around the corner, who was the owner of the drugstore down the street where I bought my penny candy. Miss Helen Harris on page 104, who grew up with my dad in High Point, North Carolina, became the first black school board member in Flint, Michigan. That's when I was in high school. As well as many social justice warriors, including Reverend L.C. Robbs, my childhood pastor, who used his pulpit to create change for the better. So this book, Bronze Pillars, helps to remind me who I am, and I proudly share this book with my sons so that they learn some of the many shoulders on which they stand. Now, the second book I want to share, because I'm going to do 2 books every month, so just get ready. The second book is Like a Mighty Banyan. So this book contains Palm Beach County's Black history. Many of you know this book. Of course, it includes Mr. S.D. Spady and Mr. C. Spencer Pompey. But from this book, I learned that Mr. Pompey was the principal of Washington Elementary School in Riviera Beach when he became the first president of the Palm Beach County Teachers Association to provide protective support for black educators. On page 18, it discusses Charles H. Stebbins et al. Versus Palm Beach County Board of Public Instruction. This case came after the board raised the salaries for white teachers but not black teachers. It was the first class action lawsuit of its kind in the United States and provided part of the legal basis for other suits in federal court, including the famous Brown versus Board. This book also tells the story of attorney William Holland Sr., the first black attorney in Palm Beach County, and the one that sued Palm Beach County schools to desegregate. This building, in fact, is named after him. And of course, the book shows Dr. T. Leroy Jefferson, the first black physician in Palm Beach County and the namesake of the local black medical society. Dan Hendricks, the first black school board member, is here. Sam Wright, the first black Boynton Beach City Commissioner. Eva Mack, the first black mayor in West Palm Beach. And Bobby E. Brooks, who was the first black mayor of Riviera Beach, whose son is now one of our principals. So, and I've recently received a copy of a document on the history of Riviera Beach written by a panel of citizens. I've not yet read it, but I do have permission to share it with our education leaders here. So I say all this to say that I hope, I pray, that we have finally reached a point where we will have the students research their history. their family, their block, their community. It's extremely important. Many people have no understanding of the historic greatness of the Black community. There's no comprehension as to what happened to the Black community. I hope you know about Black Wall Street, and I want our students to know that there were Black Wall Streets throughout this country, including Palm Beach County, including 3rd and Rosemary, where my husband grew up, with Black physicians, Black pharmacists, Black businessmen, up and down the street, a wealthy, thriving community. Well, what happened, right? And then if we do this, if we encourage our students to research the history that pertains to them, right, then all our children will know that they contributed, and they will work hard to add their personal contribution in the future. Local history can, I'm looking at my CAO and my deputy, okay? Local history is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Mr. Shaw?
Thank you very much. It was really interesting and really a valuable experience tonight to see the new leadership that we have coming into the district, but also to recognize those who are leaving us. And Dr. Salzman, I wish you the best. And if it gets too cold out in Washington, I think you already got an invitation. This is still home. I do want to recognize two of the people that were recognized tonight because I've worked with them very closely over the years. Mrs. Wetzel mentioned that we go back a long time, but it's really a pleasure. And also Valerie Haynes, who I've worked with. It really is reassuring as a board member to see the new leadership that we have coming in and the opportunities that this district has to move forward with this kind of new leadership. So I wish all of them the very best, all the new principals and the area people. Everybody talked about graduations, and graduations were something, and I think Mrs. Whitfield mentioned Mr. Stern, but for all of the people that attended graduations and had absolutely no idea what was going on behind the scenes, if it was not for the work that Officer Longo and Eric Stern put into making those graduations so successful, there's no way that any of us can say thank you to them that even begins to express the work. Eric was putting in 15, 16, 17-hour days for 3 straight weeks, and it certainly is appreciated. Last week, we were at the Florida School Boards Association meeting, and one of the things that I wanted to report to the board as a result of that is that I serve as the chair of the trustees of the Florida Educational Investment Trust. But it has a new name. You will be now seeing anything coming. It's now called Florida PALM, and PALM means Public Agency Liquidity Management. The fund was started back in 2010 as a way for school districts to invest money and have a regular flow of return and investments. But over the years, it's grown, and a decision was made by the trustees to expand it to allow any governmental agency to invest their money. I was a little overwhelmed last week when we had our trustees meeting because that fund has grown. We have 2 parts to it. One of them is the long-term investment, but also we created a term program. We have now, I think, 25 school districts and 40 or so different other agencies that are involved. And it's really a pleasure to be able to announce that the investment fund has now $1.7 billion that's in the regular investment pool and $1.1 billion that's in the term. So a little group that started 10 years ago has now grown into a fund that we're really, really pleased with and has been so beneficial to our school district and others. And I have to say thank you to Leanne Evans, who is our school district's treasurer, because she serves on the advisory committee and has done an amazing job. So with that, everybody enjoy your summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. So, board members, my report is attached to the agenda, and you all have a copy. So I won't spend the time to go over that. We don't have a lot of time to do that, but I do want to cover just a couple things quickly. First of all, Dr. Saltzman, I really never thought of you as a butterfly, but when I picture you flying off to Washington, I'm going to see this, I guess, you know. So it's been great having you down in the South region in District 5. I mean, I don't know how we're going to, you know, you've been such a great help in dealing with, my parents are a little difficult in District 5, and you've done a great job of helping calm down situations. So I'm going to miss you a lot, and I hope, I know Mr. Summer will be able to fill your shoes well, but we're going to miss you down there. So thank you for all the years of service and what you helped get done in my district, District 5. So good luck to you and to Robin and your kids when you get out there. So, and keep a room open because I said I'm coming to visit. So, Mr. Capitano, are you still here? Is he still here somewhere? He left. Okay, so I promise I won't bother him too much, Dr. Fenoy, but next year, my grandson, my best buddy, is an incoming freshman at West Boca High School, so I promise I won't bother him too much, but he's got...
Is that why Craig
left.
applied?
Mr. Summer flew out when he saw my grandson coming in, so Mr. Capitano will, I'm sure he'll do a great job at West Boca, and Mr. Summer, thank you for taking that school to new heights. You did a great job there, and I'm glad you're still going to be down there in the South region. As Mrs. Whitfield spoke earlier, I did attend a lot of the graduations at the fairgrounds, and it was really a lot of fun. I've never attended that many before, and I got to spend the entire day there because there wasn't time to, when you get there at 7 in the morning, to be there, you know, in time to get there before the parking lot is crazy and the traffic, and then you don't leave until after the last graduation at the end of the day. There was no time to go anywhere else. So I got to spend the whole day there, many days, and during those days that I was there, you know, I spent a lot of time with our police officers, met all of the new officers. I guess all the new officers got stuck with the duty out there, so they got sworn in one day, and the next day they were out there, and they all did a great job. But especially, and I know that his name has been mentioned already, and Major Makowski, but Sal Longo. I mean, between you two guys, I mean, you're the finest, you know, in my opinion, you're the finest examples of the professionalism that this board expects from our own police department. So thank you. Is Sal here? Mr. Longo, you're here? So he's not here tonight. So I want to thank the two of you. Joe Griffin of Hurst Jones. At every graduation, I saw you come to the rescue of many of our graduates who, as typical teenagers, forgot something that they needed. Sometimes it was their robe, their tassel, their cords. One young lady broke her shoe, and a young man who forgot his shirt. And your kindness to our students certainly didn't go unnoticed. And I thank you for all you do each year to help make our graduations a success. And I know his name has been mentioned several times. Eric, are you here in the room? Mr. Stern, would you stand up, please? Eric got there in the morning before it was even daylight, because I got there some mornings when it just was coming to be daylight, and he was already there probably for an hour before I got there. He left at the end of the day. I left sometimes with him at the end of the day. Sometimes he left after me, but the last thing he did was check the restrooms to make sure they were clean and the chairs were lined up and the floor was clean, so the graduation for the next morning when he got there at 4 a.m., he didn't have to do that. So you did a great job, Eric. Many years ago, when we first moved the graduations from the convention center to the fairgrounds, I asked the superintendent back then. I don't remember if it was Superintendent Johnson, Dr. Johnson, or it was Mr. Gent, but I asked him to assign you there because I thought you would do a great job. I know you never failed to remind me that I gave you a life sentence, and I apologize for that. I told him that, you know, it's till death do us part, and I probably will die before him, so we're in good shape on that one. But Eric, you never fail to rise to the occasion, to take care of all the things out there, and I'm sure no one in the district could do a better job than you at the graduation. So Thank you on behalf of the school board for all you do. And as Mr. Shaw said, nobody knows what goes on behind the scenes unless I spent the whole day there with you, so I got to see what you deal with respect to everybody complaining, not enough tickets, the traffic's a mess, they can't get through the gate. I mean, there's no chairs for them. You know, I saw it, and you dealt with all that craziness every single day for days on end, so thank you for everything you did. I direct the board's attention to my report, and if you look at a couple other things, I'm not going to cover them tonight, but as you know, I was contacted by principal leadership a while back about what they perceive as problems with the Inspector General policy as it relates to what HR and the Superintendent's authority on investigations. I've met with Mr. Chu, and I also met with the General Counsel, and I asked them to work together to take a look at what can be done to fix the policies so that we can, it's a little more, works a little better together with eliminating some of the due process considerations, and so if you all would give some thought to the policy, so that when we get to this workshop in July on the Inspector General, you're prepared to talk about some things you think should be changed in the policy. And if you want to meet with Mr. Chu and Mrs. Rico before that to get some ideas on what they think should be changed, especially Mrs. Rico's taking a look at that, I'd appreciate if you did. I did meet with Mr. Chu and Ms. McBride, and then I met with Mrs. Rico, and we discussed those issues. The other thing is, I at Mrs. Andrews' request, and we didn't break sunshine because we didn't talk about anything we're going to vote on, she asked me if I would go out and tour Pahokee High School, and I did. And I realized why she had asked me to go there, although she didn't tell me why. The school was, and I met with Mrs. Paul, and I brought to her attention, I mean, it's, in my opinion, it's substandard. Those children out there don't deserve the way that school is. They have probably no idea what a school looks like in Boca Raton, but that school nowhere compares to a school in Boca Raton, and I think those children deserve the same thing the children on the coast get in their schools. So I brought a lot of issues to her attention. She's assured me that she's going to get her staff out there to look at it before school starts, and I promised Mr. Denard, the principal out there, who's a fine principal and has all kinds of great ideas, that I would come back in August and take another look at the school, and hopefully it'll be in much better shape than it is currently. So I thank you, Ms. Paul, for giving your attention to that. And with that, I think we've completed all board comments. So at this point, Ms. Neka Nolan from the Communications Engagement Department will join us